Hey, before we get started, do you mind smashing that like and subscribe button for me? I'd really appreciate it. Did you smash that like button for me? Thanks so much. Welcome back to the garage, guys. I'm Damien. This is the Binder Builder, and today we're actually going to do something really fun. It's something I've been waiting to do for a really long time, so instead of talking your ear off about it, let's just jump right in. All right, got a shipment in. Let's take a look. That's kind of what I was waiting for, and basically it's dimple dies. All right, so I am actually planning on doing some plates in between the cage and the inside of the window. And just instead of just running straight plate, I wanted to put some dimple dies in there. Also up front here, but basically right in here. Just want to strengthen up as well as connect the cage to the body in a meaningful way. So I picked up these. Oh yeah. Cut a little hole, whatever hole size you want in your plate. Put it in a press and squish. I've never done that before. I'm kind of excited about doing that. So I got 1.5 inch, 2 inch, 1.75 inch. So good stuff. I also have smaller ones for smaller areas, like up in here. Got an inch, 1.25 inch, or excuse me, inch, 1.75 inch, and 1.5 inch, or a 1/2 inch. Getting started on the plates means I need a decent measurement of the gap between the cage and the A and B pillars. 2.5. There we go. With measurement in hand, I broke out my favorite sketch pad because of its super thick paper and started making my templates. And that means cutting a curve that will fit the A-pillar side, as well as matching the cut along the face of the cage. I wanted to make these plates as long as possible to kind of fill any visible area, so I cut the pattern into another piece of paper, but diagonally, to make it as long as possible. And after sizing it up on one side, I checked to make sure it fits the other. Then I drew the pattern on some metal plate and cut it out on the bandsaw. Once it was cut out, I held it in place and made necessary adjustments. Then, out of the smaller dimple dies, I picked one out that would best fit the A-pillar and fill the plate. Then I held it up again to see what hole placement would work best. And after marking the hole placement on the plate, I loaded a 1-inch hole saw into the press and started cutting holes. I will say that the Harbor Freight hole saw kit came with odd sizes. I tried the 7/8 and the 1 1/16 hole saw. I don't know what person made the decision to go with those hole saws, but those didn't work, so I went and bought a 1-inch hole saw from Home Depot and made the remaining cuts. Then after deburring the holes, I held the plate up to see how it turned out. Being satisfied with the way the A-pillar plate turned out, I went ahead and turned my attention to the B-pillar plates. Now I did place my B-pillar quite far back in the window so that I could have more headroom and have room for my front seats to recline, as well as scoot forward and back depending on the driver. And that made it so that these plates were going to be much more complicated and bigger. Using painter's tape to hold it in place, I marked the places where I needed to cut so that the plate lands dead center on the tube. And seeing that it did, I checked the opposite side too. Using the same process I did on the front plates, I went ahead and transferred the pattern to the plate and used the bandsaw to cut it out. After doing some math, I marked the hole placement and took it to the drill press. Initially I wanted 4 holes in these plates to match the fronts, but using a bigger dimple die, I couldn't fit them all in, so I switched to 3 holes for the B-pillar. After cleaning up the burrs with my sander and grinding out the clearances for the upper seatbelt mounts, I put the dog up and grabbed my stuff and headed to Howard's house. Of course, I forgot to turn off the camera the whole way. Don't worry, I won't bother you with the whole footage. The first attempt was another bonehead move. Guys, make sure the dies are facing the right direction. It works much better. Good thing it was pretty obvious that I messed up. No harm to the press or dies were made during the recording of this video. Second try worked wonderfully, so I cranked them out. One thing to remember, if you got two plates that are the same, make sure you make a left and a right side. I didn't mess that up, but it's worth noting. You definitely don't want to have one set of dimple dies going one direction and the ones on the other side of the vehicle going the other way. After showing Howard my progress, I headed back home to install them. While the A-pillar plates are going to be welded in place, the B-pillar plates need to be bent and small holes drilled for mounting. I wasn't totally sure how to stick the plates against the B-pillar. I was possibly thinking of plug welds, so I wanted to pre-drill them so they looked uniform. I basically spaced them out an inch apart. With the holes in place, I used the cutoff wheel to grind the bend line into the plate. This will allow me to bend the plate without using a brake. I'll weld these cuts up when I'm done. That will restore the strength from grinding. I had to go back and forth a couple times before I got the bend I wanted that matched the actual plate against the cage tube. Alright, here's the master plan. So this is going to be on the outside. I cut out this little piece to go around the stock seatbelt hole. I'm going to put, the thought is I could either use plug welds or not Zeus, what are those called? Rivets. But the thought is rivet it to the thing. Once that's solid, I can probably lay down a little weld there just to kind of shore it up sort of a little bit, and then bend it in to fit along the tube and weld it along the tube. So that's the thought. It's coming out okay, pretty good. I can't complain much. What color do you think I should paint these? The cage is going to be silver. The body's going to be orange, obviously, and then black is an accent color. One person said I should do it black. I don't know, man. Maybe black on this side to keep glare down, but kind of like the thought of being silver like the cage, since it's going to be part of the cage, and when I weld it on like so. And yeah. All right, now that you guys saw the inside view, this is the view from the outside. It actually goes pretty well against that, but yeah, that's where she'll sit. I got a good finger width, easily finger and a half width against the window, so that's fine. This side, just gonna once I have this side and here all set, I will bend this side in and weld it along and do that on both sides. So I think it'll look all right. And again, just kind of hold and reinforce the cage. Yeah, that'll work. Anyway, so thoughts so far. All right, so we got a trip to Harbor Freight. Got myself a riveter, rivet thingy. I didn't go with the super cheap ones. Didn't go with the 17-inch, but a nice 13-inch. I was a little worried about accessibility inside the bug. And then, of course, 1/4-inch rivets and 3/16 rivets. Yes, I decided on riveting the B-pillar plates in place. I'm not sure if you know how these things work, but basically the rivet works by being slid into the properly sized hole, and then as you apply pressure, the internal stem will deform the rivet, making it expand and holds the riveted materials together. Notice I'm using a clamp to hold the plate to the B-pillar. While the rivet will tend to suck the materials together, I want to make sure the plate is tight against the B-pillar before locking them down with rivets and weld. I just realized that some of you may not have seen how a rivet works. This is the rivet. This is the tool right out of the box. I didn't do anything except change the head to the correct size. Basically, you open up the jaws, it drops in. I've already drilled my hole. Let me just move you guys over like so. What you could actually do if you'd like is feed it into the hole. All the way up in. This is already pressed all the way down with the clamp. I'm just going to come in with the rivet tool here. And as you pull down, it pulls, snap. The rivet's in there. Now, if I wanted to take that rivet out, it is super simple. It's just aluminum. You just take the drill bit and drill it back out. There she goes. And then quite literally, you just plop another one in there. Pop it. And that's why they call it a pop rivet. So what I'm planning on doing is popping out those other 6 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. Or I'm actually thinking about drilling them out to a quarter. Quarter inch will have a much bigger shear strength, and this will hold it in place. So now I could actually kind of you know, pull it in and weld it to the actual tube itself. But as you can see, it hits just perfectly. It'll hold the plate in place while I weld it. I'm going to also weld little spots here, here, and here just to give it strength. You know what I mean? So just to reinforce the B pillar, and then boom, this is going to be welded on as well. Once the plate was in place, I welded it to the cage. I did leave some gaps in the welds to allow for a little movement. I also welded the plate to the body in places too, like I said, to shore up and reinforce the rivets. Next was the front end. Since I'm a little nervous about welding the stock sheet metal, I only tack welded them in place first. Then, using the leftover piece of stock dash, I practiced welding the plate before actually welding on the A-pillars. And before you ask, yes, I measured side to side to make sure the 2 plates were the same level. Having the plates lined up, I tack welded the second plate in. And then started final welding everything in place. A little sanding and a little cleanup, and well, let's see how these things came out. I personally like them. So the only thing that I don't like about these are, I used to grab right there to help myself in over this big old freaking thing. So now I got to grab the outside, rip myself over. But anyway, and see how I just kind of naturally reached for that one. And these plates kind of stopped me from doing that. But that's okay. I'm really happy the way they came out. I'm actually really glad I did them, because you can see how tight that is. That is super tight. And it almost like it gets a little tighter, but it doesn't. It is just super tight. This side a little less tight by about 1/4 of an inch. Not too bad. But yeah, these things will keep the whole cage from rattling. The last thing I need is to be going down a rough road or something of that nature and having this bouncing off and just rattling up a storm. Just need to do some cleanup work, maybe fill in some holes real fast, and then sand and repaint this. Kind of a bummer that the nice spray paint job I did before is getting destroyed, but you know what? That's all right. It's just spray paint. That's why I did it in spray paint. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Well guys, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I gotta say, this is one of my favorite mods, because every time I walk past the bug, I see these things and I'm just glad I did them. I'm glad they came out as well as they did. So I'm pretty stoked with the way they came out. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. But anyway, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and go ahead and leave a comment or any questions you may have. But other than that, I'm Damien, and this is the Binder Builder. See you on the next one.